Coach Mangini, let's talk some Aaron Rodgers, Coach. For just the second time in his 15-year career, Aaron Rodgers will be starting his season with a new head coach, Matt LaFleur. Rodgers was a guest with Adam Shine on Mad Dog Sports Radio and discussed his relationship with his head coach. Take a listen.
They got a good producer.
He's in every meeting. He leads every install. We spend time one-on-one as well, talking about things. There's been a lot of great discussions, a lot of creativity on both sides. I think he's done some really, really smart things. He's not come in and said, hey, the pass scheme was terrible. This is what we're going to run. It's been a good blending of some of the things that we're really good at and then some of the great schemes that he's bringing to us from the places that he's been. And that's what makes it fun. It's the challenge of learning a new system and a new language and new code words and checks and terms. And then, pairing that with some of the things that we've done really well over the years, things that, I maybe liked. He gets up in a room and shows clips and talks about why this is better. And, yeah, that looks better. Yeah, we'll do it that way. And then vice versa, Every now and then when I bring up something that, I think this might work better or I like that we did this in the past, he's like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it that way. And that's, that's fun.
All part of Matt LaFleur's effort to help this team and Aaron Rodgers work smarter and not necessarily harder. Coach, what are you going to be looking for from this Packers offense this season?
Well, it's interesting just hearing that interview because those are great things that he's saying, and that's what you want to hear him saying about the relationship between him and his head coach. But there's also been interviews where he talks about the fact that when Matt puts in a new concept, he'll say, well, why are we doing this? What are we trying to get done? Again, it's fine to question the coaching, and a coach's responsibility is to be able to tell you the why. But then he followed up with, if he can show me 20 clips then of it happening, then I can really get behind it. And it's that mixture of inherent skepticism which could hold things back, especially early on, because there is going to be a significant amount of blending, and there's going to have to be him embracing the new concepts for it to work at any kind of high level. And Matt has a responsibility as well to use some of the things, or a lot of the things, that Aaron likes. In addition to that, it's just, this was a great interview, and those clips are fantastic, and they should play that over and over again. It's just the other parts where you hear, yeah, if you can show me 20 clips of it, yeah, I'll buy into it. I mean, that's a but
totally shouldn't the most
approach.
Recent one be the one we pay the most attention to? Maybe early on he was more skeptical than he is now. Maybe when he first heard it, it was similar to my reaction. The coordinator for the Titans, who's around my age, and now then a month in, okay, I see some of it, but I still think I know more than him. And then 2 months in, it's 50-50. And now we're at a point where if it had been the opposite direction, we'd be freaking out. If the first comments we ever heard from Aaron Rodgers about Matt LaFleur were that, and then right before the start of the season, he's saying the 20 clips thing and what you're talking about, we would say sound the alarms. I think we should give credit that it appears that the relationship is heading in the absolute right direction.
This is what I'll give Aaron Rodgers credit for. Every other important relationship to him, he struggled with. That's what I'll give him credit for. Aaron will struggle in this relationship. And Coach is right. I remember getting to Coach Ray Sherman, who just came out of retirement to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers. And he told me in the first meeting, nothing about offense, nothing about scheme. He told me, I know that I can teach you something. It's going to be hard for me. It's going to be a challenge. But I have worked with the best wide receivers that have ever played this game. I hope you're open to my coaching. I won't embarrass you. I'll give you the type of respect that a player with your type of credentials deserves. And then I told him, I'll never embarrass you in front of the team. I'll never disagree with you in front of the kids, we called them. In front of the kids, I'll come to your office and do it in private. Because I know if I say something, your authority is just challenged just a little bit. And you don't want that in the NFL locker room. You want guys sitting down with the exchange being, this man is getting ready to teach me something to make me better, compared to, what are your credentials that would make me better? And when you go into a relationship that way, it's going to be a struggle. They're going to struggle in games. What does Aaron do then? Does he divert back to, because we're going to hear more sound bites too. So for me, let's trust Aaron Rodgers. His relationships have struggled for a reason. And it's not always the other person when you keep breaking up with people. Sometimes you need to look at yourself. And Aaron Rodgers, in doing this, he needs to be careful because you don't want the narrative to continue the way it has been. And the reason why the other coach is not there was because him and Aaron
relationship with the benefit of the doubt. And then if it proves that things aren't working out, okay, then maybe you adjust, as opposed to going into the relationship with this inherent skepticism, and you have to prove to me every step of the way that I should legitimize your authority, even though you have that authority. And look, this is the best time. They haven't lost any games. They haven't had any adversity. This is about as nice and as pleasant as it's going to be.
Yeah, don't forget they didn't handle the practices good, because the coach shouldn't have dual practices, because if I ran the team, we wouldn't be doing that because of his years in the league. Right. He knows how to put together a football team more than the hierarchy. He did say that.
Yeah, and look, and there's been other things along the way. It just once adversity hits, once things get a little bit sticky, 2 or 3 game losing streak, offense doesn't perform very well. What's it going to be at that point?
Well, does the team need these two guys to get along to be successful? I mean, I know it didn't really work towards the end with Mike McCarthy.
To be the most successful, of course. The ideal is that they get along. And Chris, you bring up Aaron Rodgers' relationships that involve non-football relationships, and I suppose that's a fair point to make. He doesn't have a long history of not getting along with coaches. Mike McCarthy was there for a decade plus. It didn't go bad till the very end.
What did Greg Jennings say about him?
That he and Greg Jennings don't. Okay, but we're not talking about his relationship with wide receivers. We're talking about his relationship with the head coach.
Let me tell you something. Relationships is you develop a pattern in your relationships.
Agreed. But the point that and his pattern right now with head coaches is, with Mike McCarthy, it was really good for a long time, and it soured at the end. And one of the reasons Mike McCarthy is not there, I believe, is because it soured. Another one of the reasons Mike McCarthy is not there is because his scheme, their offense got stale, because they weren't doing enough to supplement the talent of Aaron Rodgers, doing enough to protect Aaron Rodgers. I don't mean protect him I mean literally protect him, as far as having him have to do everything, making him subject himself to more punishment than we would like, particularly in that division, particularly in that outdoor stadium they play in, all those things. So you love Ben Roethlisberger, love him. Ben Roethlisberger has a history of prickly relationships with coaches. We know that, more coordinators than head coach, and Mike Tomlin's been able to withstand it. But with Rodgers, it does feel like there is an element of, you said you'd like to go in with an open mind, that it's hard for some people to go into anything with him with an open mind as of late. That even when we hear this soundbite that you say, that's a great soundbite, it's perfect, but let's not forget about the bad ones from a month ago. That just strikes me as
Nick,
a little unfair.
Wait a second. How long has Aaron Rodgers been in the league?
Since 2006.
Okay, because I was very, very fortunate that I've been covering this league when Aaron Rodgers was being drafted. There was a reason why he didn't get drafted #1. You know the reason why? His personality. There's a reason why you end up at a junior college with that type of arm talent. He had an abrasive personality, and that's why Alex Smith went first. So when I was covering the league, when he came into the league, they were saying these things about him. And now after all this time, they're still saying the same things about him. I gave him a chance. I've talked to coaches. I've talked to front office people. I've talked to his teammates. I was at the practice when he took over for Brett Favre. And there was a reason why he didn't like Brett Favre, and they had a relationship that was troubled. Why? Because Brett wanted to keep playing, and he wanted to take over the team. It wasn't how Brett had treated him. So this is not soundbite from this year's training camp. This is me. I'm fortunate enough, I've been able to cover him. When he was at Cal coming out, what was the report? The reason why he fell on draft day, some of the same reasons why I'm concerned today. Ben Roethlisberger developed into that personality. I watched that too. Ben Roethlisberger wasn't that guy when he got drafted. He evolved into it because the Pittsburgh Steelers empowered him to, Coach.
And I love Aaron Rodgers. I love Aaron Rodgers as a player. In our earlier segment, we talked about the power of Tom Brady being coachable and the impact that it had on everybody else, and taking the force multiplier into the classroom, into the practice field, into the sacrifices that people are willing to make. And to your point, Jenna, do they need to get along? They're the two most powerful people in the building. And if they're fighting, people have to take sides. And when people in the building are taking sides, you're not focusing on the real opponent, which is whoever you play that week.
Bill O'Brien did not have a resume that was worthy of being the offense coordinator for New England. He cussed out Tom Brady on national TV. Josh McDaniels did not have the resume that would make him offensive coordinator for New England. He has been teaching Tom Brady football the last number of years. Those guys didn't have no resume. Tom Brady didn't question that. That's one of the big differences between TB12 and what Aaron Rodgers is.
Can I add one other difference, though?
Yeah, sure.
Because when you mentioned the Bill O'Brien, the famous clip, and Brady barked right back at him. And the point that I'm making is when Brady does that, and he's earned every benefit of the doubt, it is Brady being fiery. It is Brady a great exchange. If that were to happen with Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, the exact same thing,
no, I
the
wouldn't
narrative is very
The reason why is because I talked to Brady's teammates. I talked to Brady's coaches. I've talked to people who know Brady and walk with him. And the narrative is totally different. So what they do on other shows is up to them. But based on my information, the person of Tom Brady is a better person than the person of Aaron Rodgers.
And to Steve's point, is it a pattern or is it an aberration? And when it starts to become a pattern, that's when we talk about it, you know, consistently.
Don't even get me started on Danica Patrick. Coach, thanks so much for joining us this week. Coming up, well, Cam Newton.
That was funny. That was very funny.
For week one, that's next up First Things First.
I didn't get it at first. I didn't follow, but that was really good. I liked it.